Welcome to CognitionChunks. This is Paper Trails in Time, the 7 oldest manuscripts and what they tell us. Asking, what are the 7 oldest known manuscripts? The realm of ancient manuscripts is a rich and multifaceted area of study, rife with implications about early civilizations, their cultures, belief systems, and knowledge. Here is an in-depth look at 7 of the oldest known manuscripts in the world, considering the languages they were written in, the materials used, their contents, and their significance in a broader historical and socio-cultural context. 1. Ebla Tablets. Language and material. Written in Sumerian and Akkadian cuneiform, these tablets are inscribed on clay. Contents. They cover a range of topics including laws, treaties, economic records, and some of the oldest written poetry. Historical and cultural significance. These tablets reveal that Ebla was a thriving center of commerce, law, and diplomacy in ancient Mesopotamia. They also contain vocabularies that provide insights into Semitic languages, thereby assisting in linguistic studies. 2. Pyramid texts. Language and material. Written in Old Egyptian, these texts are carved onto the walls of pyramids. Contents. These are mainly religious texts aimed at guiding the pharaohs through the afterlife. Historical and cultural significance. The pyramid texts are the oldest known religious texts in the world and provide invaluable insights into ancient Egyptian beliefs about death and the afterlife. 3. Sumerian King List. Language and material. Written in Sumerian cuneiform on clay tablets. Contents. The list chronicles the lineage of Sumerian kings and their supposed lengths of reign, mixing historical records with mythology. Historical and cultural significance. The document reveals how early Mesopotamians conceptualized history and governance, offering a blend of mythological and factual rulers. 4. Rigveda. Language and material. Composed in early Sanskrit and initially transmitted orally, it was later written on palm leaves. Contents. A collection of hymns and religious texts that formed the cornerstone of Vedic literature and Hindu philosophy. Historical and cultural significance. The Rigveda is crucial for understanding the spiritual, philosophical, and societal fabric of early Indian civilization. 5. Dead Sea Scrolls. Language and material. Written primarily in Hebrew, with some texts in Aramaic and Greek, on parchment and papyrus. Contents. These scrolls include portions of the Hebrew Bible, apocryphal works, and sectarian manuscripts. Historical and cultural significance. They provide a window into early Judaism and, by extension, the origins of Christianity, making them key texts for theological and historical studies. 6. Codex Sinaiticus. Language and material. Written in Greek on parchment. Contents. It's one of the oldest copies of the Christian Bible and includes the oldest complete copy of the New Testament. Historical and cultural significance. The Codex Sinaiticus is invaluable for biblical textual criticism, providing a more stable foundation for translations and interpretations of the Christian Bible. 7. Diamond Sutra. Language and material. Written in classical Chinese on a scroll of gray printed paper. Contents. A Mahayana Buddhist scripture that covers the essence of the Buddhist teachings on the illusionary nature of the material world. Historical and cultural significance. The Diamond Sutra is the world's oldest known printed book with an explicit date. It provides insights into early methods of book production and is a foundational text in Mahayana Buddhist philosophy. Each of these manuscripts not only holds intrinsic historical value but also provides a wealth of information on the civilizations from which they originated. These texts contribute to our understanding of ancient governance, spirituality, socio-cultural norms, and knowledge systems. They serve as tangible links to our collective past, offering clues to the evolution of human thought, language, and community. Here's a deeper dive into the intricacies of each manuscript, exploring facets like the writing systems, their historical discovery, and the methods used for their preservation. 1. Ebla tablets. Writing system. The cuneiform script on these tablets predates classical Sumerian and has unique characteristics that distinguish it from other cuneiform variations. Discovery. Discovered in the ancient city of Ebla, modern Tel Marduk, Syria, during the 1970s, primarily by Italian archaeologist Paolo Mathi. Preservation. They are typically preserved through a process of gentle cleaning, digital cataloging, and safe storage in controlled environments. Extended significance. The tablets expand our understanding of early urbanization and state formation in Mesopotamia. They contain lists of geographical names, including a mention of a city that resembles Jerusalem, which many scholars interpret as an early reference to Jerusalem. 2. Pyramid texts. Writing system. Hieroglyphics adorn the walls of the pyramids where these texts are found, mainly in the form of carved inscriptions. Discovery. First discovered in the Pyramid of Unas at Saqqara, Egypt, in the late 19th century. Preservation. In situ preservation techniques are employed to maintain these inscriptions, which also receive digital archiving for further study. Extended significance. The pyramid texts offer unprecedented insights into the evolution of religious thought, displaying a rich array of gods and rituals that emphasize the pharaoh's journey to divinity. 3. Sumerian King List. Writing system. The list employs Sumerian cuneiform, which is one of the world's earliest writing systems. Discovery. Several fragments were found in different locations, including Sumer and the surrounding regions, dating back to various periods. Preservation. The fragments are generally housed in various museums and are the subject of intense scholarly debate. Extended significance. The list serves as a vital artifact in the understanding of Mesopotamian historiography and the concept of kingship. 4. Rigveda. Writing system. Composed in an archaic form of Sanskrit using the Devanagari script. Discovery. The text has been preserved orally for millennia but has been written down in various forms, most notably on palm leaves. Preservation. Many universities and Hindu temples maintain copies, while modern digital archiving has also taken place. Extended significance. The Rigveda lays the groundwork for Indian metaphysics, cosmology, and spirituality. Its hymns also provide valuable insights into the sociology and geography of the Vedic period. 5. Dead Sea Scrolls. Writing system. The scrolls are mostly written in the Hebrew square script but also include Paleo-Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek scripts. Discovery. Discovered between 1947 and 1956 in 11 caves near the Dead Sea. Preservation. Most scrolls are housed in the Israel Museum's Shrine of the Book in Jerusalem, kept in climate-controlled cases. Extended significance. The scrolls dramatically expand our understanding of the text of the Hebrew Bible, early Judaism, and the roots of Christianity. 6. Codex Sinaiticus. Writing system. Uncial script, a majuscule script, written entirely in capital letters, was used for the Greek text. Discovery. found at St. Catherine's Monastery in the Sinai Peninsula in the mid-19th century. Preservation. The manuscript is now held in various locations including the British Library, with pages also in Germany and Russia. Extended significance. Its age and completeness make it one of the most important texts for scholars of textual criticism in understanding the transmission of the New Testament. 7. Diamond Sutra. Writing system. The text is written in classical Chinese characters. Discovery. Found in the Mogao caves of Dunhuang, China, in the early 20th century. Preservation. The scroll is now kept at the British Library in London. Extended significance. Being the oldest known dated printed book, it revolutionized our understanding of early printing techniques and has profound significance in the history of Mahayana Buddhism. Each of these manuscripts is a repository of human achievement in literature, law, philosophy, and science. Their discovery and preservation not only contribute to academic fields, but also enrich human cultural heritage as a whole. 1. Ebla Tablets. Contents. The Ebla tablets are a collection of over 20,000 clay tablets written in Sumerian and a previously unknown Semitic language called Eblate, which is closely related to Akkadian. These tablets are an invaluable source of data about the ancient Near East. The subjects covered in these tablets are multifaceted, ranging from economic and administrative accounts to legal codes, diplomatic affairs, and literary texts. Importantly, they contain information about early Syrian geography, history, and culture. The tablets classify goods, list offerings to gods, and delineate trade relations with other city-states. There are also lexical lists that served as educational texts, which may indicate that the tablets were part of an institutional archive and library. Intentions. The primary intention behind the creation of these tablets was functional, administrative record-keeping, legal documentation, trade agreements, and educational purposes. However, the tablets also served to document local customs, religious practices, and international relations, thus acting as a de facto historical record. Another likely intention was the consolidation of power through literacy. Having a written system allowed for streamlined administration and the effective exercise of rule. Moreover, it provided a medium for the negotiation of international alliances and the establishment of legal and commercial norms. Applications. 1. Historical reconstruction. The tablets provide historians and archaeologists with critical primary sources for reconstructing the social, economic, and political structures of ancient Ebla and its surroundings. 2. Lexical studies. Linguists used the tablets to study the evolution of Semitic and Sumerian languages, contributing to the understanding of language change and etymology. 3. Cultural anthropology. The diversity of subjects covered, from economics to religion, serves as fertile ground for anthropological studies about the ancient Near East. 4. Political science and international relations. The diplomatic correspondences on the tablets offer a glimpse into the early practices of diplomacy and statecraft. 5. Comparative religion and theology. The religious texts, including myths, prayers, and hymnals, open avenues for exploring early religious thought, which can be compared with other ancient religions for broader understanding. 6. Literary analysis. The tablets contain some of the earliest forms of literature, offering a view into the narrative styles and themes that were prevalent in the ancient world. 7. Education. These tablets have been used in educational curricula, particularly in the fields of archaeology, ancient history, and Semitic languages, offering students direct interaction with primary source materials. 8. Modern computational analysis. In recent years, machine learning and data analytics have been applied to decipher, categorize, and analyze the contents of the tablets, particularly useful for mass-scale sorting and analysis that would be laborious for human scholars. By offering a comprehensive look into a civilization's operation at the state, institutional, and individual levels, the EBLA tablets act as a cultural, linguistic, and historical goldmine, continuing to inform various academic disciplines and enrich our understanding of human civilization. 2. Pyramid texts. Contents. The pyramid texts are a collection of ancient Egyptian religious texts from the time of the Old Kingdom. Written in Old Egyptian, the texts are primarily inscribed on the walls and sarcophagi of pyramids at Saqqara, starting with the Pyramid of Unas at the end of the 5th dynasty. The texts are a compilation of spells, prayers, incantations, and descriptions, designed to assist a dead pharaoh in his journey through the underworld and into the afterlife. They are categorized into various utterances, or spells, each intended for specific roles such as protection, guidance, or providing magical knowledge. They cover a range of themes, including cosmic theology, creation myths, and descriptions of the gods and the afterlife. Intentions. 1. Religious function. The primary purpose of the texts was to ensure the successful transition of the pharaoh's soul from the mortal world to the divine realm. They acted as a guide through the various trials and tribulations the soul might encounter in the afterlife. 2. Royal legitimization. They reinforced the divine status of the pharaoh, presenting him as a direct descendant or even an aspect of a god, thereby legitimizing his rule both in life and death. 3. Educational. For the priests and scribes, these texts also served as educational material for religious and ritualistic training. 4. Cultural preservation. By embedding these texts within pyramids, there was a clear intention to make this knowledge eternal, preserved for posterity. Applications. 1. Egyptology. The pyramid texts are fundamental to the field of Egyptology, providing critical primary material for understanding ancient Egyptian religious and cosmological views. 2. Comparative religion. The texts offer some of the oldest insights into human religious thought, and are often examined in comparative religious studies. 3. Linguistics. The texts are crucial for the study of Old Egyptian language and script, contributing to the broader understanding of the Afroasiatic language family. 4. Archaeology. The context in which these texts were found, inside pyramids, offers additional data for archaeological studies related to pyramid construction, funerary practices, and ritualistic activities. 5. Literary studies. Beyond their religious significance, the pyramid texts have been analyzed as pieces of ancient literature, providing insights into storytelling, myth-making, and rhetorical techniques of the time. 6. Cultural anthropology. The texts elucidate the social and cultural dynamics of Old Kingdom Egypt, including the roles and attributes of various gods, the concept of kingship, and views on the afterlife. 7. Philosophy. The texts touch on several philosophical ideas, such as the nature of the soul, the concept of the afterlife, and the relationship between humans and gods, thus offering a rich field for philosophical inquiry. 8. Art history. The manner in which these texts were inscribed, including the use of specific hieroglyphs and illustrative elements, provides material for the study of ancient Egyptian art and symbolism. 9. Tourism and cultural preservation. The pyramids and their texts are also important for cultural heritage reasons and are a focal point of educational tourism. 10. Modern religious practices. Some modern religious and spiritual movements draw on ancient Egyptian beliefs and practices, sometimes incorporating interpretations of the pyramid texts into their doctrines. 11. Digital humanities. With advancements in scanning and digital representation technologies, the pyramid texts are increasingly being digitized for easier study and preservation, enabling more complex textual analysis and comparisons. The pyramid texts serve as a window into ancient Egyptian culture, religion, and governance, and continue to be the subject of multidisciplinary academic inquiry and popular fascination alike. 3. The Sumerian King List. Contents. The Sumerian King List is an ancient Mesopotamian text that enumerates a succession of rulers, kingdoms, and their respective reign lengths. The document is preserved in several versions and fragments, the most complete of which is the well-bundled prism housed at the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford. It dates back to around the early 2nd millennium BC, although it contains information about much earlier periods. The list blends mythical pre-Diluvian, before the flood, kings with more historical rulers. The pre-Diluvian kings are described as having incredibly long lifespans, sometimes running into tens of thousands of years. Post-Diluvian entries are generally considered more reliable and align better with historical evidence. Intentions. 1. Political legitimization. One of the main intentions was to provide a continuous and divinely ordained lineage of royal authority. By tracing back even to pre-Diluvian times, rulers could assert their divine right to rule. 2. Historical record-keeping. It served as a sort of official history for the Sumerians, mixing myth and fact, which was common in ancient historiography. 3. Cosmological and religious context. The introduction of the Great Flood as a dividing line between mythical and more historical kings serves to ground the list in the broader cosmological and religious landscape of the Sumerians. 4. Social cohesion. By enumerating the lineage of rulers, the text likely aimed to instill a sense of unity and continuity among the Sumerian city-states. 5. Educational. The King List may have been used as an educational text, teaching both the art of cuneiform writing and state-sanctioned history. Applications. 1. Historical analysis. The Sumerian King List is a valuable source for historians trying to reconstruct the early history of Mesopotamia. 2. Political science and governance. It offers insights into how ancient civilizations legitimized political power and constructed authority. 3. Linguistic studies. Written in Sumerian, the text contributes to our understanding of one of the world's oldest written languages. 4. Comparative religion and mythology. The list has been used to compare flood myths and other religious beliefs across cultures. 5. Archaeology. Occasionally, the list has been corroborated by archaeological findings, including inscriptions and other textual sources, adding another layer to its applicability. 6. Cultural anthropology. It provides a lens through which to examine the societal structures, such as kingship and governance, of ancient Mesopotamian civilizations. 7. Literary studies. Like other ancient texts, the Sumerian King List can be analyzed as a form of early literature, showing how narrative forms were used to communicate social and religious values. 8. Chronology and calendrical systems. The way the list measures time and reign lengths can tell us about early calendrical systems and concepts of time. 9. Philosophy of history. As a blend of myth and historical record, the list challenges our modern notions of what constitutes history, making it a subject of inquiry in the philosophy of history. 10. Digital humanities. Similar to other ancient texts, the Sumerian King List is subject to digitization efforts that facilitate textual analysis, comparisons, and translations. 11. public interest and popular culture, the mysterious and fantastical elements of the list, such as the incredibly long reigns of the pre-Diluvian kings, capture the public imagination and find their way into various forms of popular culture and pseudo-history. In summary, the Sumerian king list is not just a list of names and numbers. It is a complex text with rich applications across multiple fields, offering a fascinating glimpse into how ancient civilizations viewed history, power, and the cosmos. 4. The Rig Veda. Contents. The Rig Veda is one of the four Vedas, ancient Indian scriptures that form the foundation of Hinduism. Composed in Sanskrit, it is the oldest and most important of the Vedas, dating to approximately 1500 to 1200 BC. The text consists of 1028 hymns, organized into 10 books called mandalas. These hymns are dedicated to various deities, primarily Agni, fire, Indra, the king of gods and god of rain and thunderstorms, and Varuna, the cosmic moral order. The hymns cover a wide range of topics, including creation myths, cosmology, rituals, and philosophical inquiries. Intentions. 1. Spiritual and ritualistic. The primary intention of the Rig Veda was to serve as a guidebook for priests in the conduct of rituals and sacrifices. The hymns were meant to be chanted during various Vedic rites. 2. Cosmogonic and theological. It aims to explain the nature of the cosmos, the gods, and the relationship between the divine and the human. Hymns like the Nasadiya Sukta ponder the origins of the universe. 3. Social and cultural codification. It reflects the social structure, norms, and beliefs of early Vedic society. The text includes mentions of castes, though the rigidity seen in later periods is absent. 4. Philosophical exploration. The text engages with questions of existence, the nature of the gods, and the ultimate reality, Brahman, laying the groundwork for later philosophical developments in the Upanishads and other texts. 5. Literary and poetic. The Rig Veda is also a monument of ancient Indian poetry, with its hymns written in complex meters and rich linguistic forms. Applications. 1. Religious studies. As a foundational text in Hinduism, the Rig Veda is studied to understand the religion's origins, beliefs, and practices. 2. Linguistics and philology. Being one of the oldest texts in Indo-European languages, it offers important data for linguistic theories and for understanding the history and structure of Sanskrit. 3. History. It serves as a window into the Vedic period, offering clues about the society, politics, economics, and migration patterns of early Indo-Aryans. 4. Anthropology and sociology. The text gives an account of social hierarchies, occupational roles, and cultural norms, serving as a source for anthropological and sociological research. 5. Literary studies. As an ancient literary masterpiece, the Rig Veda is studied for its poetic form, narrative techniques, and stylistic elements. 6. Philosophy. The theological and cosmological discussions in the Rig Veda have been deeply influential in shaping later Indian philosophy. 7. Psychology of religion. The text offers early examples of religious experiences and the psychological states involved in rituals and spiritual practices. 8. Art and music. The hymns have influenced Indian classical music and have been cited in various art forms that aim to depict Hindu mythology or rituals. 9. Comparative religion. Scholars use the Rig Veda to compare Indo-European religious themes, as some of its deities and myths have parallels in other Indo-European traditions. 10. Digital humanities. Digital libraries and platforms are being developed for better accessibility, translation, and comparative analysis of the text. 11. Educational curricula. In India, the Rig Veda and its teachings have been incorporated into religious and philosophical education. 12. Modern spirituality and wellness. Parts of the Rig Veda have been appropriated into contemporary spiritual and wellness practices, including yoga and meditation. In summary, the Rig Veda is a multi-layered text with far-reaching implications across a variety of disciplines. It provides both a detailed record of an ancient civilization's spiritual and intellectual endeavors and a living tradition that continues to influence millions of lives. 5. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Contents. The Dead Sea Scrolls are a collection of Jewish texts that were discovered between 1947 and 1956 in the vicinity of the Dead Sea. The texts are of great historical and religious significance, as they include practically the only known surviving copies of Jewish documents written in Hebrew and Aramaic before 100 AD. The collection includes fragments from every book of the Old Testament, numerous works of sectarian literature, and legal documents. They also contain writings about biblical figures like Enoch, Abraham, and Daniel that aren't part of the canonical Bible. Intentions. The intentions behind the creation of these scrolls vary due to the diversity of their content. The biblical texts were likely written with the purpose of preserving religious scriptures and promoting orthodoxy. The sectarian texts appear to articulate specific theological, philosophical, and eschatological views, and possibly served as educational or liturgical tools for the community believed to have produced them, often associated with the Essenes, though this is still a topic of debate. Legal documents reveal the intention of recording social and legal norms and customs, perhaps for juridical reference. Applications. 1. Theological studies. One of the most immediate applications of the Dead Sea Scrolls is in the field of biblical studies. They serve as a comparative tool for evaluating the accuracy and reliability of later copies of the biblical texts. 2. Historical context. These manuscripts offer a wealth of information about Jewish life, law, and religious practices before and during the Second Temple period, providing a richer historical context for the origins of both Rabbinic Judaism and early Christianity. 3. Textual criticism. The scrolls have provided a baseline for scholars engaged in textual criticism, allowing them to assess how religious texts were transmitted over time. 4. Archaeology. The site of the scrolls' discovery has been the subject of extensive archaeological research, providing further context for the scrolls themselves. 5. Cultural studies. The insights the scrolls offer into community life, law, and religious practices of the time are invaluable for broader cultural and anthropological studies. 6. Linguistics. Linguists study the scrolls for their insights into the development and usage of Hebrew and Aramaic in antiquity. 7. Philosophy and ethics. The sectarian texts often discuss moral and ethical principles, as well as more abstract philosophical concepts, contributing to the study of ancient Near Eastern philosophy. 8. Comparative religion. The scrolls offer material that is critical for the comparative study of religious systems, shedding light on the formation and evolution of monotheistic doctrines. 9. Legal studies. The legal documents among the scrolls provide a foundation for understanding ancient legal systems and their influence on later Jewish and even Roman law. 10. Digital humanities. With the advent of digital technology, high-resolution scans of the scrolls are enabling new methods of analysis, including advanced textual comparisons, semantic analysis, and even new attempts at piecing together the numerous fragments. 11. Public engagement. Facsimiles and extensive documentation about the scrolls have been featured in numerous international exhibitions, playing a role in education and public engagement concerning the ancient world. The Dead Sea Scrolls have proven to be an inexhaustible resource for multiple academic disciplines, deepening our understanding of religious, historical, and social aspects of the ancient world. 6. Codex Sinaiticus. Contents. The Codex Sinaiticus is an ancient, handwritten copy of the Christian Bible in Greek, dating to the 4th century CE. It's one of the most significant books in the world, mainly because of its antiquity and the scope of its contents. The manuscript contains the entire New Testament and large portions of the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Bible, as well as other early Christian writings, such as the Epistle of Barnabas and portions of the Shepherd of Hermas. Intentions. 1. Religious authority. The primary aim was to compile a comprehensive and authoritative text of the Christian scriptures. By the 4th century, Christianity had become the state religion of the Roman Empire, and a standardized scriptural text was necessary for liturgical and doctrinal uniformity. 2. Pedagogical use. The Codex was also likely intended for use in educational settings, where the clergy and laypeople alike could study the scriptures. 3. Theological clarity. The Codex aimed to present the Christian text in a manner that would aid in theological study and interpretation, facilitating the emergence of Christian doctrine and dogma. 4. Historical record. Given that the Codex Sinaiticus contains some of the oldest surviving copies of Christian texts, it may have been intended to act as a historical record of Christian teachings. 5. Liturgical consistency. For centuries, the text of the Bible had been copied and recopied. The Codex sought to offer a more consistent version of the Scriptures for use in Christian worship. Applications. 1. Textual criticism. The Codex is invaluable for scholars who are involved in the task of reconstructing the original texts of the Bible. Its antiquity and completeness make it a primary source for textual comparisons. 2. Theology. Its versions of various books and letters are studied for their theological implications, contributing to our understanding of early Christian thought and the development of Christian doctrine. 3. History. The Codex provides insights into the religious, social, and political contexts of the 4th century CE, particularly in relation to the Christianization of the Roman Empire. 4. Cultural studies. The manuscript is an artifact that speaks to the complex process of cultural and religious transformation in late antiquity, making it a subject of study in cultural anthropology. 5. Comparative religion. As one of the oldest extant biblical manuscripts, the Codex Sinaiticus serves as a reference point for comparing the scriptural traditions of other religions. 6. Art history. As a meticulously crafted manuscript, the Codex has been studied for its aesthetic aspects, including its calligraphy, design, and ornamentation. 7. Language and linguistics. The ancient Greek text is an invaluable source for understanding the language, including its syntax, semantics, and vocabulary, as they existed in the 4th century CE. 8. Legal studies. Early Christian law and ethics, as reflected in the Codex, offer insights into the development of Christian and, subsequently, Western legal traditions. 9. Information science. The manuscript's digitalization has been a case study in the preservation of ancient texts, demonstrating techniques and technologies used in the digitization of ancient materials. 10. Education. Facsimiles and digital versions are used in academic courses on religion, history, and classics, serving as a primary source for students. 11. Public interest. The Codex has been the subject of various documentaries, books, and academic papers that aim to disseminate its historical and cultural significance to a broader audience. In summary, the Codex Sinaiticus is more than just an ancient religious text. It's a cultural and historical artifact with multifaceted implications and applications, touching on fields as diverse as theology, history, linguistics, and information science. 7. Diamond Sutra. Contents. The Diamond Sutra, or Vajraketaka Prajnaparamita Sutra, in Sanskrit, is a Mahayana Buddhist scripture that is part of a larger corpus known as the Prajnaparamita, Perfection of Wisdom, Sutras. The text is presented as a dialogue between the Buddha and his disciple, Subhuti, and it covers various aspects of Buddhist philosophy and practice, notably the concept of emptiness, sunyata, and the importance of compassion and wisdom. The sutra is framed as a concise but profound teaching, cutting through illusions to reveal the ultimate nature of reality. It is called diamond because of its penetrating insights and its capacity to slice through ignorance, just as a diamond cuts through all other materials. Intentions. 1. Transcendent wisdom. One of the primary intentions of the Diamond Sutra is to impart the wisdom that leads to the transcendence of suffering and the realization of enlightenment. 2. Pedagogical. The sutra serves as a teaching dialogue, aimed at both instructing advanced disciples and providing a resource for self-study. 3. Philosophical. The text seeks to clarify some of the most complicated ideas in Buddhist thought, including the concept of emptiness, the lack of inherent existence of all phenomena. 4. Ethical and compassionate living. The sutra provides guidelines for virtuous behavior and emphasizes the importance of compassion, particularly the ideal of the bodhisattva, who seeks to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. 5. Challenging fixed concepts. The text is intended to challenge and deconstruct commonly held beliefs or conceptualizations, encouraging a more direct experience of reality that transcends words or concepts. Applications. 1. Spiritual practice. The Diamond Sutra is commonly used in meditation and recitation practices to deepen one's understanding and realization of its teachings. 2. Textual studies. The sutra is the subject of extensive commentary and interpretation within the Buddhist tradition and is studied from philosophical, historical, and linguistic perspectives. 3. Interfaith dialogue. Because it addresses universal themes like compassion and the nature of reality, the Diamond Sutra is often included in discussions between different religious traditions. 4. Literary and artistic inspiration. The themes and imagery from the sutra have been used in various forms of art, including literature, sculpture, and painting, particularly in the cultures of East and Southeast Asia. 5. Ethical application. Its teachings on compassion and wisdom have been adapted into ethical guidelines and practices, both within monastic settings and for lay people. 6. Cultural studies. As an ancient text with vast influence, the Diamond Sutra also serves as a historical document, reflecting the religious and intellectual climate of its time and place of origin. 7. Comparative philosophy. The text is also used in comparisons with other philosophical and religious systems, both Eastern and Western. 8. Psychological insight. Concepts from the sutra have been employed in the realm of psychology to understand the nature of perception, cognition, and human suffering. 9. Educational material. It serves as a primary text in educational institutions that teach Buddhism and comparative religion, serving as a critical text for the academic study of Buddhist philosophy and ethics. 10. Popular culture. Adaptations and references to the Diamond Sutra can be found in contemporary books, movies, and discussions on spirituality and philosophy. 11. Technology and preservation. Being one of the oldest known printed books, the Diamond Sutra also offers insights into the history of printing technology and textual preservation. The British Library's digitization of the text is an example of how ancient texts can be preserved and made accessible through modern technology. In summary, the Diamond Sutra is a multidimensional text with both religious and secular applications. Its teachings have not only served as a spiritual guide for countless Buddhists over the centuries, but have also influenced a wide array of disciplines, such as philosophy, ethics, art, and literature. And that, knowledge explorers, brings us to the end of today's literary odyssey. We've flipped through the pages of history, both metaphorically and, thanks to modern technology, virtually, to explore the world's 7 oldest known manuscripts. From the spiritual depth of the Dead Sea Scrolls to the scientific brilliance in Archimedes' palimpsest, we've been witnesses to the seeds of human thought as they were first committed to paper, or papyrus, or vellum, or clay, as the case may be. Why are these tattered remnants of paper and ink so incredibly captivating? Well, these are not just manuscripts, they're the proto-DNA of human culture. Each document we explored is a catalyst for change that went on to influence thought patterns, religious beliefs, and even governance structures across the globe. They were the Google Docs of their time, sharing and storing information for posterity. But there's more. These manuscripts raise intriguing questions. How did ancient scribes achieve such precision in their transcription, often without the modern luxuries of error correction? What were the economic and social conditions that led to the creation and preservation of these texts? And perhaps most compellingly, what lost knowledge might they contain that has yet to be discovered or understood? These manuscripts are a testament to the enduring power of written language. They remind us how ideas, once penned down, can survive empires, cross continents, and inspire generations. They serve as a record of human innovation, resilience, and the ceaseless quest for understanding and connection. They tell us as much about ourselves today as they do about our ancestors. And let's not forget the excitement of the scholarly chase, the decryption, the translation, the painstaking restoration. There's an air of intellectual mystery that makes these ancient documents tantalizingly engaging. It's like being an academic Indiana Jones, but with less risk of being squashed by a boulder and more risk of paper cuts. So, if you found this journey through time and text as fascinating as we did, hit that like button and share the adventure with other history and manuscript enthusiasts. Make sure to subscribe to CognitionChunks to venture further down the rabbit hole of knowledge and curiosity. As we close this chapter on today's exploration, let's consider ourselves not just informed but connected, a link in a long chain of human endeavor that stretches back to when the first scribe put pen to paper. This is CognitionChunks, reminding you that while paper may disintegrate and ink may fade, the quest for knowledge remains indelible. Keep reading, keep exploring, and keep those cognitive gears turning. Until next time, stay curious and keep chunking. Was this accurate? Did GPT just make up a bunch of stuff that does not exist or does not make sense? Find out next time in the CognitionChunks follow-up.